The morning sunlight streamed softly through the kitchen window, catching the dust motes dancing in the quiet air. Emma sat at the table, sipping her coffee and scrolling through her phone. When she heard the faint shuffle of footsteps behind her, she looked up and saw Jake, her 17-year-old stepson, leaning awkwardly against the doorframe. His expression was nervous, something she rarely saw. Usually he was full of jokes and mischief, the kind that made her laugh despite herself. Today, though, he seemed different, hesitant, vulnerable. "Hey, Emma," he said softly, his voice almost swallowed by the hum of the fridge. "Can I talk to you about something?" Emma set her cup down, her heart skipping a beat. She had always shared a warm, supportive relationship with Jake. But lately, he had been pulling away, retreating into his own world. She gestured to the chair across from her. "Of course, Jake, sit down. What's going on?" He hesitated before sliding the chair closer, fidgeting with the hem of his hoodie. It's kind of embarrassing," he admitted, avoiding her eyes. I need some advice." Emma's eyes softened. She knew that tone well. It meant he trusted her. Whatever it was, it mattered to him. "You know, you can tell me anything, right?" she said gently. "Nothing you say will shock me, I promise." He finally met her gaze, and she noticed the mixture of fear and hope in his eyes. "It's about this girl at school," he began, and Emma's stomach tightened slightly. Romantic interests were a tricky territory for teens, and for her as a stepmother, it was always delicate. I really like her, but I have no idea what to do. I don't know how to talk to her, how to act. I don't want to mess things up." Emma's heart ached with empathy. She remembered being his age, the swirl of emotions, the confusion, the yearning to be accepted and liked. "Jake," she said softly, leaning forward, "it's okay to feel nervous. It shows you care. But the most important thing is to be yourself. That's the person anyone would want to get to know." He nodded, but the worry didn't leave his face. "But what if she laughs at me? Or thinks I'm weird?" Emma smiled, reaching across the table to place a reassuring hand over his. "People who are worth your time won't laugh at your feelings. They'll appreciate your honesty, your heart. And even if it doesn't go the way you hope, you'll learn something about yourself. That's what matters most." For a moment, he was quiet, absorbing her words. Then he exhaled, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "Thanks, Emma. I don't know what I'd do without you. You're really good at this kind of stuff. Life stuff." Emma felt a warm glow of pride and affection. It wasn't often that Jake expressed gratitude like this, and she treasured these moments of connection. "You'd be surprised at how capable you already are," she said. "You just need a little confidence, a reminder that someone believes in you." He smiled faintly, but the nervous energy lingered. "I think I want to ask her out, but I'm scared. What if I mess it up completely?" Emma chuckled softly. "You might, and that's okay. No one gets it perfect the first time. The trick is to be sincere, to be respectful, and to show her who you really are. That's enough. Trust me." The doorbell rang then, startling them both. Jake jumped, and Emma glanced at the clock. It was early for visitors. "I'll get it," she said, and as she stepped away, she could hear Jake muttering something under his breath about being nervous. She smiled softly to herself. He was growing up so fast, and she wanted to guide him without overstepping, to be there for him without taking over his journey. Returning to the kitchen, she opened the door to see Mrs. Palmer, their elderly neighbor, holding a package and smiling warmly. "Morning, Emma. Thought I'd drop this by. Looks like Jake's dad left some things for him." Emma thanked her and took the package inside, setting it on the table. Jake's eyes lit up as he recognized the contents, a model kit he had been wanting for months. "Wow," he whispered. For a moment, his worries about the girl, the nerves, everything melted into pure excitement. Emma watched him, her heart swelling. She realized that guidance wasn't always about giving answers. It was about being present, about sharing in the small victories, offering encouragement, and letting him know he wasn't alone. She reached out again, brushing a stray strand of hair from his face. "You can handle this, Jake. You're stronger than you think. And I'll be here whenever you need me." He grinned, a mix of relief and appreciation crossing his face. "Thanks, Emma. Really." The morning sunlight shifted, casting a warm glow across the kitchen. Outside, the world moved on, but inside, a bond deepened, one built on trust, care, and quiet understanding. Emma knew that the days ahead would bring more challenges, school pressures, friendships, first loves, but she also knew that moments like this, filled with honest conversation and mutual respect, would prepare him to face them. And as Jake returned to his room with the model kit, humming softly to himself, Emma sat back and let herself breathe. This was the beginning of something important, not a dramatic revelation, not a sudden twist, but a slow, steady shaping of character, trust, and connection that would linger far longer than any fleeting success or failure. She picked up her coffee again, smiling at the quiet peace in the house, knowing that today she had made a difference. And in that difference, she felt a quiet joy, a sense of purpose, and a love that wasn't romantic, yet was deep and meaningful, the kind that shapes hearts and minds, the kind that lingers in memory, the kind that makes life worth guiding. The afternoon sun spilled through the curtains of Jake's bedroom, illuminating the scattered pages of a notebook and half-assembled pieces of his model kit. He sat cross-legged on the floor, meticulously examining each piece, but his mind was elsewhere. Emma's words from the morning kept replaying in his head about honesty, confidence, and being true to himself. The nervous knot in his stomach hadn't disappeared entirely, but it had loosened just a little. Emma knocked lightly and stepped in. She carried a plate with 2 sandwiches and a glass of lemonade. "Thought you might need a little fuel," she said with a warm smile. Jake looked up, his lips curving into a small grin. "Thanks, Emma. I really appreciate it." She set the plate beside him and sat on the edge of his bed. "So, how's the model coming along?" she asked, genuinely curious. He shrugged, picking up a tiny piece and turning it over in his fingers. "It's okay. I'm worried I'll mess it up. I've never done anything this complicated before." Emma reached out and tapped his hand gently. "Jake, remember what we talked about this morning? Messing up is part of learning. Perfection isn't the goal for it, and focus are." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I guess. But it's just, I want things to go right, you know?" "I know," she said softly. "And wanting that is good. It means you care. But caring doesn't mean you can't make mistakes. It means you try, you adjust, and you keep going." Jake paused and took a deep breath. I think I might ask her to hang out this weekend," he said, his voice low but determined. "I'm still nervous, but I feel like I want to try." Kama's heart warmed. "That's wonderful. You've thought about it, and now you're ready to take a small step. That's courage, Jake. And courage doesn't mean not being afraid, means acting even when you are." He looked at her, a mixture of excitement and worry in his eyes. "What if she says no?" "Then you handle it with respect," Emma said firmly. "You thank her for listening, and you move on gracefully. No one ever fails completely as long as they act with honesty and kindness." Jake absorbed her advice, and for the first time that day, a smile broke across his face. "I think I can do that," he said more confidently. Emma stayed for a while, helping him organize the parts of the model kit, asking about school, friends, and hobbies. The conversation drifted naturally, sometimes playful, sometimes serious, always supportive. She realized that these small moments, being present, listening, guiding, were shaping him in ways he might not notice yet. And she felt a quiet satisfaction knowing she could be a steady influence in his life. As the afternoon wore on, Jake grew quieter, his focus returning to the model kit. Emma sensed a shift in his mood. He was thinking deeply, maybe processing more than he could say. "Jake," she asked gently, "what are you thinking about?" He paused, then looked up with a hesitant smile. "I've been thinking about how things change, how people grow, I don't know. I feel like I'm finally starting to understand myself a little better." Emma's eyes softened. "That's a very important realization, Jake. Understanding yourself is the first step toward handling the world around you. And it takes time. Be patient with yourself. He nodded, returning to his model kit, but she could see the spark of determination in his eyes. Emma left him to work in peace, but she lingered in the doorway for a moment. Watching him focus, seeing the way his shoulders straightened and his hands moved with purpose. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental to her. The evening approached and Emma returned to check on him. The model was almost complete, and Jake's confidence had grown with every piece he added. "Look at that," she said, pointing to the nearly finished kit. "You did this all on your own. I'm proud of you." He looked up, a shy but genuine smile spreading across his face. "I couldn't have done it without your help. You make things seem easier, Emma." She shook her head with a gentle laugh. "You had it in you all along. I just reminded you." There was a pause, a quiet moment where the air seemed charged with a subtle connection between them, not romantic, but deeply human, a bond formed through trust, guidance, and care. Jake realized he could rely on her advice, not just for big decisions, but for the everyday challenges that made life feel complicated and intimidating. Later that evening, Jake's phone buzzed with a message from the girl he liked. His hands trembled slightly as he opened it. "Hey, would you like to go to the park this Saturday?" It read. He froze, a mix of shock and delight washing over him. Emma, who had been quietly tidying up, looked over his shoulder and saw the message. Her smile widened. "Well?" she asked gently. Jake laughed nervously, excitement and disbelief mingling in his voice. She said yes." Emma clapped softly, sharing his joy. "See, courage pays off. You just needed to believe in yourself, and now look at what's possible." Jake's face lit up with a mixture of relief and happiness. "Thanks, Emma. Really, I don't know what I would have done without you guiding me through this." "You did the hard part," she said warmly. "I just reminded you that you could." As the night grew darker outside, Jake reflected on the day, the advice, the encouragement, the small victories, and the growing understanding of himself. Emma had helped him navigate a complicated emotional landscape, offering support without judgment, guidance without pressure. He realized that this bond, built on trust and care, was invaluable, and that he would carry the lessons of patience, courage, and honesty forward into other areas of his life. The day ended quietly, but its impact lingered. Emma felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing she had helped nurture not just a skill or a decision, but a young man's confidence and self-awareness. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, more nerves to overcome, more emotions to navigate, but for now, she allowed herself to feel the quiet triumph of a day well spent, a connection strengthened, and a life gently guided toward growth. And as Jake drifted off to sleep that night, clutching a small part of his model kit, Emma realized that sometimes the greatest victories aren't loud or dramatic. They are quiet, personal, and profoundly meaningful. The kind of victories that shape character, deepen bonds, and leave a lasting impression long after the day is over. The morning sun filtered softly through the blinds, casting golden stripes across Jake's room. He awoke with a mix of excitement and nerves. The park date was today. His thoughts swirled with anticipation, remembering Emma's encouragement from the past few days. He felt ready, yet butterflies in his stomach reminded him that confidence was still something he had to nurture with each step he took. Emma knocked gently at the door, holding a small backpack with snacks and a water bottle. "Morning, Jake. Ready for your big day?" she asked with a warm smile. Jake sat up, ruffling his hair. "Yeah, I think so. I'm a little nervous, though." "Good nerves," Emma said. "It means you care. Just remember what we talked about. Be yourself, be honest, and enjoy the moment. That's all anyone can ask." Jake nodded, taking a deep breath. He packed his small backpack carefully, making sure he had everything he might need. Emma watched him with a sense of quiet pride. He was growing not just in confidence, but in maturity, learning to manage his emotions and take responsibility for his choices. On the way to the park, Jake's mind raced with scenarios. Would he know what to say? Would he act awkward? Would she like him the way he hoped? Emma, walking beside him, offered gentle reassurance whenever he hesitated. "You've got this. Just listen and respond naturally. That's all anyone expects." They arrived at the park where the girl he liked was already waiting. She smiled warmly when she saw him approaching, waving enthusiastically. Jake's heart raced, but he remembered Emma's advice and took a deep breath, letting a confident, genuine smile spread across his face. The date began simply walking along the winding paths, talking about school, hobbies, favorite movies, and silly little jokes. Jake found that the more he focused on enjoying the conversation rather than impressing her, the more relaxed he became. Emma watched from a distance, her presence subtle but steady, giving him the space to grow while knowing she was nearby if he needed guidance. As the afternoon unfolded, Jake felt a new sense of self-awareness. He realized that he was learning not just how to interact with someone he liked, but how to understand his own emotions, his excitement, his anxieties, his moments of doubt, and respond with calmness and clarity. Emma had taught him that confidence wasn't about never feeling nervous. It was about handling those nerves with grace. At one point, the girl pointed to a small pond with ducks swimming lazily across the water. Jake's initial instinct was to remain quiet, unsure what to say. But then he remembered Emma's advice: observe, comment honestly, and engage naturally. "They're really peaceful," he said softly. "It's nice to just watch them float around without a care in the world." She smiled at him, nodding. "Yeah, it's calming. I like that you notice things like that." Jake felt a subtle thrill of pride he was connecting with her. Not through exaggeration or forced charm, but by being attentive and genuine. The lesson Emma had instilled in him about sincerity and presence was paying off in ways he hadn't imagined. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, the group decided to sit on a bench near the pond. They shared the snacks Emma had packed, laughing at small mishaps, crumbs falling into the water, ducks stealing stray bits of bread. Jake felt a quiet happiness, a sense of accomplishment. Not because the day was perfect, but because he had navigated it with courage and honesty, embracing the uncertainty rather than fearing it. Emma, sitting nearby, watched him with a mix of pride and quiet contentment. She knew this was more than a simple park date. It was a moment where Jake was learning to trust himself, to handle new experiences with composure, and to understand the value of patience, thoughtfulness, and empathy. As the evening approached, Jake and the girl walked toward the park's exit, chatting comfortably. He realized he had enjoyed himself genuinely, without overthinking or self-doubt dominating the experience. Emma's lessons, small but powerful, had helped him arrive at this moment of calm confidence. Before parting ways, the girl turned to him and said softly, "I had a really nice time today." "Jake, thank you for inviting me." Jake smiled, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. "Me too. I really enjoyed it." She waved and walked off, leaving Jake standing there with a mix of joy and relief. He took a deep breath, absorbing the sense of accomplishment. Emma approached, placing a hand on his shoulder. "See? Courage, honesty, and kindness go a long way," she said gently. Jake looked at her, gratitude shining in his eyes. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance. You really helped me see that I could handle this, that I could be myself and it would be enough." Emma smiled, feeling the deep satisfaction of having helped nurture not just his social skills, but his emotional intelligence. "You did the work, Jake. I just reminded you to trust yourself." The walk home was quiet, comfortable, and reflective. Jake carried with him the lessons of the day. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Confidence is built step by step, and honesty and empathy create meaningful connections. He understood that life would present more challenges, more moments of uncertainty. But now he had the tools and the mindset to face them with resilience. Back home, Jake settled into his room, unpacking his backpack and reflecting on the day. The model kit, once a symbol of uncertainty, now sat complete on his desk, a tangible reminder of his growth. He realized that small victories guided by support and thoughtful advice could build a foundation for lasting self-assurance. Emma, watching from the doorway, knew that this day would linger in his memory not because of dramatic gestures or extraordinary events, but because of the quiet triumphs of character, the courage to face nerves, and the joy of connecting honestly with someone he cared about. That as night fell, Jake prepared for bed, feeling a sense of calm and accomplishment. He understood that growth often came quietly through patience, encouragement, and trust in oneself. Emma's presence had been a steadying force, but the confidence he now carried was entirely his own. Before turning off the lights, he glanced at the completed model kit, then at the message from the girl confirming another meetup. A smile spread across his face. He had learned that fear could be managed, nerves could be navigated, and success was defined by authenticity, effort. And Care. Emma watched him for a final moment before leaving, proud of the young man he was becoming. She knew that life would continue to challenge him, but he had the tools to handle it. Courage, honesty, patience, and sympathy were now firmly part of his character. As Jake drifted into sleep, he felt a profound sense of confidence and growth. He understood that these moment-small victories, gentle guidance, personal reflection were shaping him in ways that mattered far more than any immediate triumph. The lessons would stay with him, guiding him through future uncertainties, building his self-respect, and helping him connect meaningfully with others. The story closed quietly, but its impact resonated. It wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic outcomes. It was about growth, guidance, and the human connections that help us navigate life's challenges. Jake's journey, supported by Emma's wisdom and his own courage, became a testament to the quiet power of mentorship, patience, and authenticity's story of emotional maturity, resilience, and the lasting value of trust and support.